Before we begin, a few quick disclaimers. 1. I'm a Kickstarter backer for this project. There's my name in the credits. 2. As a Kickstarter backer, I paid £15 for this game rather than the going rate of $27.99. 3. I'm a massive fan of 3D platformers and am very fond of the Banjo-Kazooie series, which this game is a spiritual successor to. In other words, there's probably going to be some bias in this review, and I feel like you should know that going in. At any rate, let's see what Playtonic Games have delivered. To start off with, I have to praise the Kickstarter itself for being extremely well run. After backing, Playtonic provided regular updates, 51 in total, letting everyone who pledged know how things were progressing and even giving us some behind the scenes info. As a backer, I felt informed and in the loop at all times. There was room for improvement, however. For one, PC backers who only had to pledge £10 for the game instead of £15 got an exclusive toy box demo that console backers never received. In the meantime, any non-backers who pre-ordered the game on PSN immediately got the toy box on PS4. Secondly, I was annoyed when it was announced upgrades to physical copies would cost £20, as that would bring my total pledge to £35 at a time when non-backers could pre-order physical copies for $27.99. Both instances put backers in a position where they were worse off than non-backers, and that left a sour taste in my mouth. At any rate, I was extremely excited to download and install my copy of the game come release day, and I think this campaign sets the standard for how Kickstarters should be run. Onto the story, our villain, Capital B, and his assistant Dr. Quack activate a machine that will steal all of the world's books. Meanwhile, Yooka and Laylee have recently found a book with golden pages. As they consider its monetary value, it's sucked away into the corporate Hivory Towers, and the pair chase after it. In the process of being stolen, the book's pages fall out and scatter. It's soon revealed to be the one book. The pages inside, known as pages, are sentient and purposefully tore themselves out to prevent Capital B from rewriting reality as he sees fit, which is apparently something the completed book's capable of. The pages can also open portals, known as Grand Tomes, to other worlds where pages have gone into hiding. Yooka and Laylee decide to retrieve the pages and restore their book because, hey, resale value. Never mind that it's actually safer for the world for the one book to remain torn up, although to be fair, that does play into the plot later on. As you can imagine, this is your standard 3D platformer collectathon. You're probably sick of people saying, it's basically Banjo-Kazooie free, but I can't stress how accurate that really is. You start the game with only a jump. You can't even attack until you learn that move from Trouser, a move salesman. He's Bottles, basically. Throughout the game, you'll be given the opportunity to buy more moves until you have the ability to glide, create a shield around yourself, turn invisible, and fly in a platformer, among other skills. The moves are varied, fun to use, and even have to be combined to overcome later challenges. One minor gripe is that, despite the number of text boxes you have to go through after buying one, they're not clearly communicated. For example, the invisibility form allows you to refract and redirect light, but only while crouching. I found this out by accident after being stuck in one room that requires you to do just that for ages. You purchase these abilities with quills, Yooka-Laylee's equivalent of Mario 64's coins, Banjo-Kazooie's musical notes, or Donkey Kong 64's bananas. There are 200 per level, and collecting all 200 gives you another pagey. That sounds like a reasonable number, but when you're only missing one and the levels are this massive, frustration can soon set in. You can't progress throughout most of the game without buying these new moves from Trouser, so the quills are, without a doubt, the second most important collectible in the game after pages. As you've likely gathered, pages are the equivalent of Mario 64's stars or Banjo-Kazooie's chiggies. You can earn them in a number of ways, from completing platforming challenges, puzzles, races, minigames, defeating bosses, and nabbing other collectibles such as the 5 ghostwriters found in each world. Certain characters and tasks do repeat across the 5 worlds, and it's here the game faces some of its biggest problems. Rextro, a low-polygon dinosaur, presents you with an arcade minigame in all 5 worlds. Each minigame is worth 2 pages, one for beating it and a second for beating Rextro's high score. Sadly, these lack polish, are mechanically very basic, and don't have tight or responsive controls, making them a chore rather than a pleasant distraction. Likewise, in every world you can find Kartos for a minecart minigame, which again suffers from poor control. You even have to face off against a boss while operating Kartos, which I don't have footage for as you can't replay boss battles. Both of these characters have a running joke about how dated and forgotten their gameplay styles are, but the title does nothing to address the problems of old, accurately recreating the frustration of those bygone days as well. To a lesser extent, the transformations you can find in each world, turning Yooka and Laylee into snowplows, helicopters, and boats, also feel a little tricky to maneuver. They're similar to the forms Mumbo Jumbo offered in the Banjo games, yet are only used for very specific goals and lack versatility. Which is a shame, because the actual platforming segments, which make up the bulk of the game, are excellent. Yooka and Laylee are responsive, the challenges are fair and varied, the worlds are gorgeous, you've got a great mix of different activities, and you can actually reach or climb on almost any structure you see, giving a fantastic sense of freedom. There are a lot of little touches that help, such as putting a drop shadow directly beneath Yooka and Laylee, so you can tell exactly where you're going to land, that I really appreciate and elevate the gameplay by making it all very fair. Even the swimming controls work well. Others have bemoaned the camera. I personally have only encountered one camera-related issue, which you're seeing now. The rest of the time the camera's been smooth, responsive, easy to position, and not gotten stuck on any scenery or obscured my view in any way, shape, or form. I did experience a few frame rate issues on the PlayStation 4 version. Most concerning was stuttering and freezing on loading screens, of all things. I also encountered a handful of instances where the game skipped frames, which led to it ignoring my inputs, or placing me in a dangerous situation without adequate time to respond, causing a couple of unfair deaths. In terms of scale, I was concerned when I heard there were only 5 worlds, but given the size of the levels, especially after you've expanded them, I had no reason to worry. Each world contains more than double the number of MacGuffins I'm used to finding in previous titles. For example, 25 pages per stage here, compared to 10 jiggies per level in Banjo-Kazooie. My initial playthrough took me just over 16 hours, and I've yet to 100% the game. There's no doubt that Yooka-Laylee is a very pretty game. It's vibrant, cheerful, and colourful, with a clear and bold aesthetic that'll no doubt make it timeless. I can tell a Wii U version was originally planned before Playtonic switched development to Nintendo's latest console. See what I did there? And I do find myself thinking these graphics could have been handled by a PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360. It doesn't feel current gen. However, with the gaps between console generations becoming less obvious with each new set of hardware, that's not a huge detractor. Musically, the game's very nostalgic for me. It sounds exactly like Banjo-Kazooie, with the only downside being that it doesn't stray far enough from Banjo's soundtrack to set itself apart with its own identity. That problem's shared with the user interface too. Speech boxes, character portraits, pause menus, the file select screen, the font, even the game's logo is all a spot-on match for Banjo-Kazooie. Ultimately, that's holding Yooka-Laylee back from being its own property and standing in its own spotlight. While it is the developer's intention for this game to feel like more of what they used to make, those inevitable comparisons give me mixed feelings on Yooka-Laylee as a whole. I loved the game. I binged it in a way I've not done since the Ratchet & Clank remake. I haven't played something like this in a very long time, and it was awesome to go back and do it all again with new environments, challenges, and cast members. That said, while Yooka-Laylee perfectly emulates and captures everything that made the golden era of 3D platformers so good, it also includes many of the genre's problems and does little to actually take the formula forward. It's those minor flaws that make me question whether I'll ever 100% it. As it stands, I would still highly recommend this game. It grabbed me in a way that few games can, it was safe to play in front of the kids, which is more than I can say for 90% of my PS4 library, and at £15 it was an absolute bargain. I don't understand why it's released at a budget price of $27.99, when it's easily got enough length and content to stand toe-to-toe with $49.99 full retail releases. The ending strongly hints at a sequel, and I sincerely hope that happens. However, the boys have shown us that they can still pull all their old tricks. I'd like to see a couple of new ones. I've been Sam, thank you very much for watching.